Sketch the graph of 7x squared minus 6 root 3xy plus 13y squared minus 16 equals 0. So here we have a standard equation of conic. We've got an x squared and a y squared in there, but the presence of the xy term tells us that we actually have a rotated conic. And so we are going to graph this, we're going to convert it into our new system. So we start off, remember that our standard form is the ax squared plus bxy plus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. So then we just kind of identified these variables because we're going to be using each of these when we find the new equation of our conic. So a here is 7. B is the coefficient of the xy, that's negative 6 root 3. C is 13. There's no x term and there's no y term, so both D and E are equal to 0. And then F is that constant term, which is negative 16. So we have identified those different coefficients. Then we're going to find the angle of rotation. So we have this formula that cotangent of 2 theta is equal to A minus C over B. And so we plug those in. A is 7 minus C is 13 over B, which is negative 6 root 3. So this is negative 6 over negative 6 root 3, which is just 1 over root 3. All right, so this is cotangent of 2 theta that's equal to that. And we're going to pick the angle that's between 0 and 180 degrees. So 2 theta, we just need to know when cotangent is equal to 1 over root 3. And this occurs at 60 degrees. 60 degrees. Okay. So then theta, we just divide by 2, we get theta equals 30 degrees. So this is the angle of rotation. Okay. To graph this, we have a conic that will be rotated 30 degrees counterclockwise, and so that's what we're going to do. So when we find our new equation in the x prime y prime system, we're going to graph that at an angle of 30 degrees. All right, so we've got our 30 degrees. Now we're ready to go through and find all of our different variables here, and I mean the coefficients, the a prime, c prime, d prime, e prime, and f prime. So we'll start with the first one. A prime, the formula is a cosine squared of theta plus b cosine theta sine theta plus c sine squared theta. And so now we're just going to go ahead and plug in what we know. We know a is 7. Okay. We know theta is 30 degrees. So cosine squared of 30 degrees. Well, cosine of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. We square that. Plus b. B is this negative, so I guess I'll write this as a negative, minus 6 root 3 times the cosine of 30 degrees, which is root 3 over 2, times the sine of 30 degrees, which is 1/2. Okay, plus c is 13, and then sine squared of 30 degrees. Sine of 30 degrees is 1/2, so we've got that thing squared. Okay, so now we've got, we can simplify this, and that will tell us a. So let's go ahead and simplify. We get 7 times, this is 3/4. So 7 times 3/4 is 21/4. Minus, this is 6 times root 3 is 3, so 6 times 3 is 18 over 4. 18 over 4. And then plus here we have 13 over 4. Okay, so this is, let's see, 3 over 4 plus 13, 16 over 4, which is just 4. So now I have a prime equals 4. I'm just going to write this a prime over here so that I have that clearly labeled. Okay, and then I can move on and find c prime. Note that there's no b prime term because the presence of the xy term that's what tells us there's a rotation, and our goal here is finding something that we can draw in a non-rotated frame of reference. And And so, of course, we don't want a b term. So there's no b prime. Okay, c prime, the formula is a times sine squared of theta minus b times cosine theta times sine theta, and then plus c times cosine squared of theta. So now I, again, plug in all the things that I know. A is 7. Sine of 30 degrees is 1/2 squared minus b, but b is negative, so it's plus 6 root 3. Okay, cosine, which is root 3 over 2. Sine 30 degrees, which is 1/2. And then plus c, which is 13. And then cosine of 30 degrees is root 3 over 2 squared. Okay, and so now we simplify. We get 7 times 1/4, that's 7/4. And then plus 6 times 3 is 18/4. And then plus 13 times 3 is 39. 39/4. Okay, and this adds up to 564 over 4, which is 16. So that's our c prime. Okay, then we move on to d prime. The formula for d prime is d cosine of theta plus e sine of theta. So now plugging in our values, d and e are both 0. That's nice. That's 0 plus 0. That's just 0. So no work there. E prime is negative d sine of theta plus e cosine of theta. Again, that's 0 plus 0, which is 0. And finally, f prime is equal to f, and f was negative 16. Okay, so we've got a prime, c prime, this is d prime and e prime, and f prime. And so now we're ready to write our new equation. So a prime is 4 times x prime squared plus c prime, which is 16, times y prime squared, plus d prime x plus e prime y, those are 0, and then plus f prime, so minus 16 equals 0. And well, now we can simplify a little bit. If I add the 16 over, I get 4x prime squared plus 16 y prime squared equals 16. We know that the standard equation of a conic, we want it to equal 1. And so now we divide both sides by 16. We get x prime over squared over 4 plus y prime squared over 1, just to have that in our kind of standard form, equals 1. We recognize this as an ellipse. This is an ellipse that, so I can draw this. Now I'm going to be very careful here. So I have here, I'm going to draw this. This is the x prime, y prime system. X prime, y prime. Okay, and I can draw this ellipse. It goes 2 in the x direction. And actually, let's get this a little bit bigger. 2 in the x prime direction, I should say. Okay, and 1 in the y prime direction. And so it gives, I get this. This ellipse here. I'm not a great artist, but there's our ellipse. Now this is the x prime, y prime system. And so to actually graph this in the original coordinate system, okay, we were originally given in x and y, so I need to graph it in x and y. I just need to take this and I need to rotate it. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this, and I'm rotating it 30 degrees. So that's about that, okay? And so my original coordinate system, right, was there's my y, and there's my x, and y. And so this ellipse right here, that's our graph that's been rotated. This right here is 30 degrees. And so we have this ellipse that's been rotated that 30 degrees.